All right. We now will deal with both cases of and I'm first going to deal with the matter of position 6 with Miss Garcia, and then I will treat Mr. Calfee as a witness in that matter. And then when we deal with that matter, depending upon the evidence that comes out, we'll have Mr. Calfee as well come out and make and deal with his as he's responded as well. So if we can, Miss W, if you can come out, Mr. Calfee, I'm going to allow you to remain since you are essentially both a respondent in both matters, so you can remain here. Please turn on your camera though.
Can you hear me? I don't know if anyone can hear me.
I can hear you, but I just need you to turn your camera on.
Start
Judge,
video.
Yeah,
It says
Judge.
you cannot start your video because the host has disabled it.
Right.
Clerk, can you enable their video? There we
Here I
go.
am.
Okay.
Here I am.
Mr. Calfee, can you go ahead and turn your video on as well?
It's saying the same thing, Judge. You cannot start your video because the host has disabled it.
All right, clerk, can you address that?
Host has asked you to start your video.
All right, excellent. All right, folks, I'm going to get everybody under oath. Mr. Calfee, in this initial matter, I'm going to hold for your openings. Well, you know what? We're going to do it all at one time. I think that would be the most productive thing. So this is the order in which we're going to go. I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to give an opening statement. Ms. W will give her statement, and then counsel, you can give your statement for your client. And then Mr. Calfee, you'll have an opportunity to give your opening statement. And then we'll run from there. I understand, Ms. W, you don't have any witnesses, do you?
I have no, I have evidence. I've sent in a lot of evidence. So
No, I see that. I just was making sure that there was nobody in the waiting room. And then
no, sir.
Ms. You have one witness, Ms. Garcia, but that is Mr. Calfee, so that works out then. Okay. All right. Let me get everybody, all of the parties. Now, Ms. Kelly, you are an attorney, right?
Yes, Judge.
I was wondering. I was like, hold on. All right. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, under penalty and perjury of the law?
I do.
I affirm I will not swear. I'm a Christian. I say yes is yes and no is no.
I'm a Christian too, and every day I put on people under oath. Yes or no?
Yeah, yes. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. All right. We don't have to be extra. All right. So Ms. W, go ahead and provide your opening statement regarding this matter. And again, let me be clear. This is regarding allegations. Bear with me. Hold tight. I just had it up. Bear with me here. There we go. All right. So as far as the allegations versus Garcia, that's for criminal trespass, damage less than 500. That's a date of incident of August 1st, 2022. And then for Mr. Calfee, we have, bear with me here, an allegation as well of criminal trespass, damage less than 500. And this one was occurring on May 13th, 2022. So several months before. And so.
Excuse me, Your Honor. The clerk got that wrong. She put May 13th, but that's, no, that's not true. It was in, I believe, July that he.
But a different, I got it, but different date other than August 1st, correct?
Yes.
All right. So Ms. W, what I'm going to do then, I'm going to allow you a little bit extra time. I'm going to give you until 8:22 because we're talking about two different events, but I want you to talk to them about them separately. So if you can first start with Ms. Garcia's event, and then you can talk about Mr. Calfee, or if they operated, if Mr. Calfee's event took place before Mrs. Garcia, you can start with his event, just so we can get an understanding of the background about what's going on. Okay. And so I'll give you till it's 8:16. So yeah, I'll give you till 8:21, 8:22. Floor is yours.
Okay. Okay. I met Miss Garcia through a friend of mine named Linda, who knew that I had experienced an illegal eviction before, because I trade renovation work in homes and businesses in lieu of paying rent and utilities. Miss Garcia's mother had died February 28th of last year, and she and I were introduced to each other by Linda. I met her in person. She said she showed me her mother's house at 1053 Shepherd's Lane. Her mother was a hoarder. She helped a lot of poor people, so she kept a lot of people's things. There was rats, rat feces, all kinds of problems with the house, plumbing issues, all kinds of things. So I made an oral contract with her that I would move into the house and I would begin to clean and also help throw away, and also try to help her sell some of the items in the home. I sent an audio tape of that conversation I had as part of my evidence to show that I was invited into the home. It was a bartering agreement. I established residency. I had been there about 60 days when I, unfortunately, because of my prior illegal eviction that I had experienced, I had a landlord during COVID attack me physically when she was told she could not evict me. I'd done a $5,000 floor job for her. I was physically attacked by her, defended myself. We were both arrested. It took 2.5 years to go to court. We went to court. I lost. She hired an expensive attorney. I represented myself. I lost at trial because I wasn't given my evidence and they used fraudulent photos. So I had 3 days to put my affairs in order, much like your other people that got warrants had to put their affairs in order. I then asked a friend to help me because I had 3 days to put my affairs in order, to hire a pet sitter, house sitter, to go into the home where I was working and living. So I was introduced to Johnny Calfee. I said to him, I don't have any money to pay you. I'm getting ready to go to jail. I ended up agreeing with him to take care of my dog, a female pit bull, watch over all my property, keep it secret from Maggie Garcia, my landlord, because I was concerned that she would attempt to illegally evict me, which she did do. So anyway, bottom line is, I went to jail. Johnny moved into the house. I stayed several days with him before I went away. When I was away, we were having conversations on the jailhouse phone. Johnny at one point decided to block my phone calls, which was very concerning to me because I was completely cut off from knowing how my animal was. All communication about my car that was parked in the driveway, which I'd made it clear to him, the car had no car insurance on it. It could not be driven off the property. And so it ended up about 6 weeks later, after I was in jail, I found out through my sponsor, a friend of mine named Carol, that Johnny had met up with and communicated with Maggie, my landlord. I also got a letter, which is part of the evidence I have, with malice aforethought that Johnny and Keith Duncan, his friend who helped me find him, sent me in jail telling me that, and you can read it, Your Honor, because I'm trying to respect the court's time. And in it, it says that Carol, my sponsor, Johnny, and Maggie were going to decide when to remove all of my possessions forever, and dispose of my vehicle. And then this other man that helped me to find Johnny offered to buy my car from me, basically when I was locked up. And of course I ignored him. I wasn't going to give him my car because I was going to be homeless. So Maggie went forward and she illegally evicted me, even though on May the 9th, when I was on my first day of my trial, I have a video that I put into evidence of Maggie attempting to break into the house when I was away from the home. I called the police. It's documented on 911. And also the police officer told her she had to give me 24 hours notice to come to the home. And she did not. And she broke the deadbolt I put on the door so that she couldn't get in without my knowledge. So she did illegally evict me. She never filed for dispossessory. She took the law into her own hands, even though she was instructed by a DeKalb County police officer not to do so. She disposed of all my worldly goods. Johnny left the house. He told me he signed some kind of agreement with Maggie. And under the law, there's no such thing as I abandoned the property because I was in jail, vacation, whatever it is, sickness in the hospital. You can't evict someone. And she was told she needed to file for dispossessory. So she defrauded me of the value of the work I did, which was approximately $4,000 to $5,000 for cleaning the home. We had an agreement. She even, sent me text messages saying what a great job I had done. I went to the house when I was released from jail with my locksmith, attempting, I thought the house would be empty. She installed a whole family of 4 adults are inside the house. I don't know who they are. So I filed a lawsuit against John Doe and all others because she was avoiding service of process. I tried to call her on the phone. I tried to communicate with her to find out where my belongings were. I went back to the house and found them, some of them in the trash. I also spoke to the people in the house. I submitted that video as well. They said that the beef was not between me and them. It was between myself and Maggie. And I was told that they are illegal aliens from Cuba. They're her relatives that moved in the house, took over the job of cleaning from me, and disposed of all my belongings at her direction. So my car was also moved off the property at her direction.
Let me just hold on. And so I've given you that time. I just want to make sure that I understand the allegations that you're making.
Yes.
So you got, if individually, you've got an allegation for criminal trespass, damage to property, $500 or less against Mr. Calfee, as well as one against Ms. Garcia. Is that correct? And you're saying these are based upon the disposing of your property from this particular home?
Yes, the disposal of my property, the property, my clothing, my appliances, everything. Yes.
All right.
And then the car was taken from the property.
Okay.
And he lived
Hold
in
on, Mr. Duncan. Stop. I'm now going to allow Ms. Garcia or Attorney Kelly to go ahead and do an opening statement for Ms. Garcia.
Thank you, Your Honor. Our position is this: Ms. Doobie came to Ms. Garcia when she was homeless through a mutual friend. My client made a oral agreement with Ms. Doobie that she could stay there on a temporary basis. She is correct that my client's mother passed away on February 28th. Ms. Doobie came to the property on March 10th of 2022. She was to do work in the home, helping to clear it out in exchange for staying there rent-free. Pretty early on into that relationship, my client was not happy with the services that Ms. Doobie was providing. Nevertheless, she continued to stay up until Ms. Doobie went to jail. She was sentenced, Your Honor, in Cobb County State Court on May 10th, 2022. She was sentenced to serve 12 months in jail. She was given several days to make arrangements prior to turning herself in. She was given until May 13th. And our position is between May 10th and May 13th of 2022, Ms. Doobie took her personal belongings to the house of Carol Sims. She deposited a duffel bag with her personal property. She took a laptop to Ms. Sims' home. She came back the next day and bought a box with additional items to Ms. Sims. And anything else that she left at the property would be abandoned, Your Honor. She was sentenced to serve 12 months in custody. And she did not communicate this to my client. Like she said, she was trying to move someone into the house as kind of a placeholder without my client knowing. That's something that my client would not have agreed to. But she met Mr. Calfee and tried to install him into my client's home in her place for these 12 months. She ended up serving less than 12 months, but when she got out on September 25th, 2022, she returned to the home. And yes, my client had entered into a lease with other individuals on August 1st. She called the police, they came out. There were trash bags of property that were there, Ms. Doobie looked in those bags and said that wasn't her items. And so we don't know what other items she could be referring to. Whatever property was left when she had those 3 days to get her affairs in order, that was abandoned property, Your Honor. That's our position.
All right, Mr. Calfee.
Hey, Judge. Yes, sir. I met Kathy through a mutual acquaintance, someone she called a friend, Keith Duncan, 2, maybe 3 days before she went in to jail to serve a sentence for striking a previous landlord with a coffee pot. I was told that she needed a house sitter. I could work on my startup there. And as long as I walked the dog, everything would be okay. Her and Keith Duncan had a falling out a couple of weeks into the arrangement. And so she said she fired Keith. And I never tried to buy the car from her. I never sent her a letter. I didn't want to drive the car. That was not my plans. I never drove it while I was there. It wasn't until after the truth came out about her pretty much squatting and wanting somebody to stand in for her that I voluntarily left the property, because I didn't agree to what it is I found out the situation entailed. It wasn't for me. And but anyway, I did know that what Catherine referred to as her most valuable possessions were transported to Carol Sims' house, and I was with her. Give me 1 second. Never mind. I didn't call. But I was with her as she transferred what she referred to me as her worldly possessions, and she told me that God gave her the house she was in, and that she was going to beat the case she was in, and that all the items in the house were hers, and that I was not to have contact with any neighbors as they verbally assaulted her, which was a lie after I found out after several days of being there. And anyway, once I found out the truth, I contacted Doug, which was a neighbor. I was walking the dog, and me and Doug got in a conversation. And I called Maggie from Doug, or Doug contacted Maggie, and I came out to meet Maggie and gave her a key to the house because the situation was so wrong, and I don't want that on my conscience. I had to make it right. And that's just where I stand on it. So.
All right, Ms. Doobie, what evidence specifically here? I know you've got a couple of things that you submitted to the court.
Your Honor, first of all, Mr. Calfee admitted.
Wait. We're not doing that.
Okay.
We're asking about what evidence you want the court to introduce first.
Okay. I want you to introduce the video of Maggie Garcia with 2 other individuals attempting to break in the front door of the house. That's my first piece of evidence, because she was told she could not remove me nor anyone else if I invited someone else to come in the house. She was told she had to file to dispossess me. And I know the law, Your Honor, because I have been.
So Ms. Doobie, hold on. Just wait. I just want to let it be clear. I'm having concerns about this, and I am going to allow some of the evidence to proceed, but I'm concerned because this sounds like a civil matter.
It is not. No, it's criminal. My
belongings. Just listen to me.
Okay.
Right? Just listen to me. All I'm saying is it has giving a very reminiscent of a wrongful eviction action that you're maybe now trying to convert into a criminal action.
No, sir.
I'm just concerned because you keep raising that she didn't properly serve you and notice you for dispossessory. And that generally is a civil matter. That is a criminal matter. I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk. I'm just telling you where my thought process is.
I hear you.
So I'm listening.
Okay.
To see whether or not this, in fact, supports a criminal case, or is it really an extension of a civil matter?
Sir, I must tell you that the police instructed me.
I know what the police say.
And I want to explain to you.
Hold on. No, I want to explain. Ms. Doobie. But
Okay,
I'm just
I know.
telling you that based
I
upon
heard,
my initial information, it's sounding like that. So just
no, sir.
being
No.
aware. Okay. So you said you have a video. Hold tight.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Now, I know you sent this video in a link. I may or may not. Let's see. Bear with me.
Your Honor,
If I live here, I have a
Hold on.
there it is.
Bear with
Thank you.
me. The court is reviewing this video. It's almost.
Could you also look at the police report, Your Honor, of the list of all my belongings that were not
Yep,
taken to care of?
I'm gonna hold tight. Hold tight. Hold tight.
Thank you.
Your Honor, may I ask a question?
He's muted because he's listening to the video.
All right, bear with me. I just reviewed the video, but the video, I just will be clear. The video that was produced, I have watched it, but the video does not have any evidence regarding taking of any property. Just want to say that.
That's my first video to show a
I just
pattern.
want to make sure that you know that I watched the video. And
Thank
the
you.
video doesn't have anything to do
But-
with taking property. So just hold tight. Informing folks what we're doing so you guys don't stress when I disappear. Hold tight. All right.
Right. Thank you. You can smile all you want, but God is on my side, and I still have a civil.
Please remain on mute. We don't need any commentary. Please. All right, I'm going to show the police report that you're referring to, Ms. W. I did over as well listen to this audio recording, I guess, where you were identifying things that you intended to keep and not keep. Okay. But give me 1 second. All right. Now, Ms. W, this is part of the evidence that you produced to the court, which is a police report from September 25th, 2022. Here in this police report, this is the date that alleges that you called when you got out of apparently jail for 3 months, and we're saying that you apparently were found that everything that was in your property, someone else had moved in there.
Yes.
Okay. And you identify that you had all of these things, 10,000 in clothing items and kitchen appliances.
Yes.
Okay.
And my dog was stolen as well,
Okay.
in addition to my car.
Okay. And do you have any evidence that they actually took these things?
Yes, I've
And the
Johnny
value.
Calfee. Yes, sir, I do. Johnny Calfee testified or gave a confession to me, and I submitted that confession to the court, and I wanted to cross-examine him because I did not take all my belongings out of the home. I would have had no reason to have a pet sitter, house sitter to watch over my belongings. I took some
Well,
of
hold
my
on,
more,
hold on, hold on. I just want to make sure, just asking for the
yes.
value. Do you have any evidence for the value of the items that you are alleging, or any evidence of those items that you own?
The items I had in the house, Johnny was in the house to look over those items. I only took a small portion out, like my laptop. I'm explaining to Your Honor.
I'm just
I have
asking.
evidence. I'm going to cross-examine him. I have a confession that and I also got the letter in the jail that they intended to dispose of all my belongings. And Johnny told me that Maggie told him not to even return my car to me because she was saying I was setting him up to get arrested. The police, I made a police report about the theft of the vehicle. He had blocked me on the phone. He changed his phone
You're not
number.
answering. Listen, Miss Debbie. I asked.
It's Doobie, Your Honor. It's Doobie.
Well, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to disrespect you, but I'm asking questions and you're not answering the questions.
Go
I'm
ahead,
asking,
ask
do
me.
you have it? Do you, ma'am, have any evidence of the value of the items that you claim were taken, or any photographs of those items?
I lost everything they disposed of all my worldly goods, all my receipts, all my everything was taken and disposed of, except for the things I put at Carol's house, which were a modicum, minute amount, just so I'd have clothes to wear when I got out of jail. And by the way, I'm out on appeal. My case was supposed to be overturned. And the reason they all worked
Miss Debbie.
I don't have, Your Honor, I have no pictures or anything of anything. All my belongings were disposed of.
Why are you yelling at me? I understand you're frustrated.
I'm homeless. I've been homeless 6 months because of this woman.
I understand
and this man.
But you're yelling at me. I'm trying to determine whether or not there's probable cause. He's not guilty. Ms. Garcia is not guilty until proven. This is a determination of whether or not there's probable cause to issue an arrest warrant. You're making allegations and statements as if you've already done that. So I just want you to calm down. I understand you're frustrated, but listen.
I'm exhausted.
You're not going to be able to be heard if you continue to overtalk me.
You're right.
You understand?
I apologize. But I respect the court. I'm frustrated with the fact that they got to talk a bunch and I didn't get it's two cases.
You've been talking the most. So just
because there's two cases.
What other evidence do you have? I have the video.
I have his confession.
The voice roaring.
The audio tape.
I'm going to give you an opportunity to cross-examine him. Do you have any evidence, physical evidence that supports the items that were in the property and the values?
I lived in that house with my belongings.
That's just a yes or no. That's just a yes or no.
I have pictures on my old cell phone that because I'm homeless and I have no money, the phone was turned off.
Okay.
When you're homeless,
all right, Miss Dovey, you're not helping move the matter along so that we can get to that information. So they
made me lose everything I own. Everything I own was in that house, including my dog. My car was parked outside.
You're testing my patience because you're really disrespecting the fact that I'm trying to be patient with you. And you're emotional, but you're not considering anybody else. So just hold tight. I've looked at the evidence. You're going to get an opportunity to cross-examine Mr. Calfee. If that is all the evidence that you provided, I am now going to give an opportunity for Ms. Kelly to either introduce any evidence that she may have or cross-examine you. Okay, we're going to get there shortly. So, Attorney Kelly, I apologize. Do you have any evidence that you would like to introduce?
So I submitted 2 items to the court, 2 documents. One was a sentencing order out of Cobb County State Court.
I object. That has nothing to do with the fact that I was defrauded. I've already said where I was.
Miss Dovey.
This is not. I have a right to object. I'm my own attorney.
And I'm going to overrule it.
I object. It has nothing to do with this case,
Okay.
except that I was not in the home. That's it.
Miss W, just relax. Counsel, you're saying that you have a sentencing order that you're referencing.
Yes, the sentencing order reflects that on May 10th, 2022, when Ms. Doobie was sentenced by the state court, she was given until May 13th of 2022 to turn herself in. So she had the intervening days between May 10th and May 13th to make arrangements. She asked the court for that. And so that is the relevance, one, of the document. The other relevance of the document is that the sentence reflected a 12 months to serve in custody sentence, followed by 36 months of probation. The relevance of that, Your Honor, is the idea that Ms. Doobie could expect to serve 12 months in custody. Granted, she served less. She ended up serving less. I understand that with the various credits that the Cobb County Adult Detention Center gave her. But what the judge ordered was 12 months. It would be unreasonable for Ms. Doobie to believe she could not tell Ms. Garcia where she was, bring somebody in to stay there for 12 months, and then come back as if everything was fine. And the point of asking for the additional days to turn herself in was to put her affairs in order, including her personal property. So that's the relevance of the one document, Your Honor. The other document is a written statement from Mr. Calfee. He's here to testify, though, so I don't know that I need to go into that. He's here.
That's fine, and I will take notice of the sentencing order, but obviously that's just another piece of evidence. Obviously, we have Mr. Calfee here, so he can testify. So if Mr. Calfee, did you have any evidence that you wanted to introduce before I go ahead and let folks start questioning each other?
Yeah, I submitted it late. I didn't even know I had a case today. And so I would have had Keith Duncan, who introduced me to Miss Kathy, and she did not tell me the full story. But anyway, I don't want to go on a tangent. I would have introduced the neighbors. But I did submit some pictures.
We did submit some photographs. Okay, hold tight.
Yes, sir.
Clerk, can you forward me these photographs that Mr. Calfee sent? I cannot find them.
Judge, I was actually looking for them myself.
Okay, all right.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Hold on, Mr. Hold on. We're trying to focus on somebody else. You've interjected quite a few times. Hold tight.
Can he confirm when it was sent, Judge?
When was it sent, Mr. Calfee?
Let me just check my laptop. It was sent 8/11.
August 11th?
No, 8/11 tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
And the subject is John Calfee, evidence of car. That was the condition that I received the car in. Told me that, first of all, I didn't know about the insurance. She told me about the issue of should I need to, I had emergency authorization to move the vehicle, which when faced with getting the car impounded, I chose to take emergency action. I wanted to give her something when she got out, and that was as soon as she got out, I gave her car, and I told her I had to do it or your car would have been impounded. So that's the only reason I moved the car, so that she would have something. She planned to live with the dog in the car.
Well, hold on. We're going to get there because you aren't testifying yet. I'm going to give you an opportunity to do so, and she's going to have some opportunity to give some questions. Did we find those photographs?
Judge, there's nothing in the clerk's box. I checked both boxes. There's nothing there.
Okay. All right. All right. So this is what we're going to do, Mr. Calfee. While we look for those still, if we see them, you can please resend them. But what I'm going to do is this. We're going to do the following. We're going to make it so that everybody gets an opportunity to cross-examine everybody, right? I think that would probably be the most useful time, best use of our time. So what I'm going to do is, Ms. Doobie, what I'm going to do, I'm going to first allow Counsel Kelly to cross-examine you. And then after you have an opportunity to be cross-examined, I'm going to allow you to cross-examine or have any questions for Ms. Garcia. And then I'm going to allow Mr. Calfee to cross-examine Ms. Doobie. Then Ms. Doobie, you can cross-examine Mr. Calfee. And then Attorney Kelly, if you have any questions for Mr. Calfee, you can ask him some questions at the end as somewhat of a cleanup of any type of evidence that you seek to get from him that may not be provided in his cross-examination with Ms. Doobie, okay? And that is because we have a triangle here, and I'm trying to make sure that we address all the evidence and do it in an orderly fashion. And so, again, counsel, I'm going to allow you to cross-examine Ms. Doobie, and Ms. Doobie, again, you have an opportunity to cross-examine Ms. Garcia, and then we'll deal with Mr. Calfee from there. All right?
Man, just one point, Your Honor. Ms. Garcia has not testified.
Oh, she doesn't have to. Now, she doesn't have to
Okay.
testify. I mean, as a matter of law, she does
Right.
not. So, Ms. Doobie, I'll just be honest with you. She does not have to testify. If she doesn't testify, you don't get to cross-examine her. All right? But you have testified. And so she's going to be able to cross-examine you the same. So, and that's
Thank
just
you.
a matter of law. So, counsel, Ms. Doobie, you can now go ahead and answer Counsel Kelly's questions.
Thank you. Ms. Doobie, you moved into the home on March 10th, 2022?
Yes, approximately that date, yes.
The house was a mess, right? As you
It was.
described it.
Yes,
There were bags of clothes everywhere when you moved in?
boxes of items, all kinds of mementos, former tenants that had lived there with her mother, lots of junk, yes, stacked to the ceiling in almost all the rooms.
How many rooms were there?
In the house total,
Yes.
the living room, dining room, kitchen, back storage area, the laundry area, back shed, let's see, 3 bedrooms, and a front porch.
Got it. And there was stuff everywhere, right?
When I first moved in, yes.
Yes. And you didn't arrange, there were no a service that comes and removes that property. That's not something that happened before you went to jail on May 13th, right?
I was doing the work and I sent pictures to Maggie, and she complimented the fact that I was very quick, very fast to do the work. I also had 1-800 Junk come over and give an estimate to show her the value of the work I had done thus far. And I
Okay,
had
they gave an estimate, but they didn't remove anything, correct? Not
no,
yet.
they did not. No, I
Right.
didn't.
Okay, you removed items in your vehicle?
I threw them in the trash according to her instructions in the video, in the audio that I sent to Judge Davis. I was instructed on what to throw away. I was instructed in what to keep.
Okay, but by the time you went to jail on May 13th, there was still there was still a lot of stuff in the house, correct?
There was some stuff in the house still that was not mine, that was hers, yes. That
Right.
was
Some of her
Ophelia
mother-
Garcia's.
Some of her
Yeah.
mother's items, all that stuff was
Her-
still there.
My items and her items were there, yes.
Okay. And you are a convicted felon, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you were convicted in 2020 in Orange County, Florida for elder
I
abuse.
object. I object. This has nothing to do with this case, and they're trying to disparage me.
That's true.
And that
Counsel,
has nothing
let's
to do
move
with
on.
the
Under the
fact that
rules
I
of
think
evidence, Your
I'm
Honor,
seeking an
under the rules of
evidentiary hearing.
evidence,
This
under
has
the rules of
nothing to
evidence,
do.
someone can be
Ms.
impeached
Dodo,
by
Ms.
being a
Ms.
convicted.
Nothing, objection.
Ms. W, I will say felonies are generally admissible.
In an
as far as
evidentiary hearing about them stealing my belongings?
They're
Really?
admissible to impeach your credibility, ma'am.
But again,
Oh.
it's
Impeach your
not,
credibility.
it's not a matter of whether, it's just, it goes to the weight of things. It's not any indication of.
Oh, so I deserve to be robbed because I'm a
I didn't
convicted
say
felon.
anything. Nobody said anything.
No, I said that.
I know,
Because
but
it
you
has
don't,
nothing
you
to
don't,
do
you
with the
don't
fact
need
that they've lied.
Miss W, you don't need to say that. There's not a jury here. There's just me. You're the respondent. You're not, I mean, you're the applicant. You're not the respondent. Just hold tight.
Judge- Judge Davis, respectfully, we don't have enough time. It's late at night. In respect of the court's time,
Okay.
I was willing to speak to these people because they stole my belongings and they've done evil to me. And I will let you do what you do in your court. But I tell you, for the purposes of time,
Let me do my job.
go right ahead.
Okay.
Don't try to call me a liar or say that I'm a bad person if I was falsely accused of a crime, period. Go ahead, knock yourself out. Go ahead.
Let me do
It's
my
for
job.
impeachment purposes, Your Honor, and it falsely accused. You were actually convicted and sentenced to 18 months in prison, correct?
I took a plea bargain and my probation was violated by someone who climbed in a window and attacked me. So yes, I did time, ma'am. 6 months I did.
Okay.
Yes.
More like 18 months in
No,
Florida.
I did 6 months, ma'am, in
Okay.
FWRC in Ocala. So you must have your information wrong. I spent 6 months and I had COVID when I was inside, ma'am.
Let me ask another question. You, in fact, have filed a civil suit against Ms. Garcia in Magistrate Court, DeKalb County Magistrate Court, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the basis of that civil suit that you filed in Magistrate Court and I think you filed that suit on September 28th, 2022, correct?
I don't remember the day I filed it, but she's avoided service of process. So I filed it and now she has an attorney representing her, asked for it to be dismissed. And I have an April 19th hearing about it. And
But
he's
that was in
asking,
September, of 2022, right? When you filed the civil suit.
I don't remember the exact date, but I did file it and they've had trouble serving her. Yes.
Well, did you file it this year or last year?
I don't remember. I filed.
You don't have any idea when you filed it?
I believe it was last year, right after this happened. I filed, they've had problems at the courthouse. So they had like a pipe burst or something like that. So that's why I have to do it like this. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I'm
So
seeing the
to my point,
damages.
to my
the-
point,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
to my point, you said you have to do it like this. So the point of seeking the criminal warrant is because you weren't making traction on your civil suit. That's why you
No,
chose to
the
seek
judge
criminal warrant.
recommended I do it. When I spoke to the judge who gave me these 2 hearings for this, she suggested, the cops told me to do it. I took their instructions. And also the judge said she felt it was relevant. And by the way, she helped me because I told her I could have pursued a felony against them, but she suggested I pursue the misdemeanor charges because the police were not helping me.
Well, you
These
couldn't,
people-
you
Well, hold on,
couldn't
Ms.
pursue
Dudley.
you couldn't pursue a felony because you need police for that. And the police came out. You called the police out and they made
The
no arrest.
police don't
correct?
want to do their jobs,
Right,
and that's
so
why
they
they
came out,
suggested
they
the judge
responded
handle
to
it.
your call and they didn't make an arrest, correct? So you don't have an option to do this, a felony warrant this way, correct? That's okay, we'll move on. I have another question. When you knew you were going to serve or sentenced to 12 months in jail, why didn't you arrange for all of your items to be safeguarded?
Oh, well, I hired a pet sitter, house sitter, Johnny Calfee, and I was told that I would probably be able to do a motion to overturn my conviction, which I was successful in going in front of the judge on August the 3rd. And she said, Miss Doobie, if I do that for you, I'd have to do it for everybody. And there is injustice. People experience injustice all the time when they can't afford a wonderful attorney like you, Miss Kelly.
And Ms.
That's what happened to me.
Ms.
But my
Doobie,
case is
you-
on appeal.
You made it certain, you said you hired Mr. Calfee as a pet sitter, house sitter, yet you told him not to have communication with the landlord, with the owner of the home. You wanted to keep that a secret, correct? You said
Ms.
that.
Garcia tried to break in the house on May the
No,
9th.
that's
and
not,
the judge-
my question to you was, when you said you were hiring Mr. Calfee, you did not want him to speak with Ms. Garcia, correct?
I didn't want them to conspire with each other, which they did. And that's why I didn't want them to communicate, because it was none of her business. She had to file in the court system and not take matters into her own hands, but she did. And she thinks she can get away with it because she paid you, Miss Kelly. Yes,
I don't have any other questions right now, Your Honor.
Okay,
thank you.
Well, no, I don't have any other questions.
all right, all right. Ms. Garcia did not testify, so she's chosen not, she has a right to remain silent.
Why can I not ask her questions?
Because she has a right to remain silent as a matter of law. She does not have to respond, and it's just as a matter of law. That's a matter of law. It's constitutional.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Calfee, what I'm going to do is give you an opportunity to cross-examine Ms. Doobie, and then Ms. Doobie, you'll have an opportunity, because he did testify, have an opportunity to cross-examine Mr. Calfee. Mr. Calfee, you're free to ask her cross-examination questions.
Yeah, I wish I came prepared. I had no idea I was going to be doing this, but I would like to ask Ms. Doobie how she and I met. Ms. Doobie, how did we meet?
I was introduced to you by Keith Duncan.
Okay, and did you hire Keith Duncan as well?
I hired him to help me to find someone to go into the house. And when I had issues with him, because he's seriously mentally ill, and the federal government, I found out, medicated him against his will. So I fired him because I had someone research him and find out he is a dangerous person. And he became belligerent and aggressive towards me when you blocked me on the telephone. And I told him I didn't want him to handle my affairs anymore, period. That's what I told him. And by the way, you did know about
Ms.
this
Doobie,
hearing.
Ms. Doobie.
Ms. Doobie,
Yeah, Ms. Doobie,
Yeah.
you gotta stop it. Let people ask their questions and answer it. All this extra commentary is unnecessary, please.
I'm tired. I've been doing this for 3 hours now. I'm hungry. I'm tired. So please give me grace and
You're not the only one.
I
Yes.
know, but please give me grace and mercy, because I've been disparaged and
Miss
defamed,
Miss
and this
Duffy.
has nothing to do with this. Go ahead, Johnny, go ahead.
People to court, Mr. Cowell.
Go ahead.
yeah. At any point, did you tell me Maggie had items in the house?
I'm confused. What are you asking me?
Did you tell me that Maggie did not have items in her house? None of those items in the house belonged to Maggie. Was that what you told me?
They were her mother's belongings, and she hadn't been through probate. She has other siblings.
They were her
That was
mother's.
her
Okay, that's
mother's
all I
belongings.
Yeah, they weren't yours.
Mother's
That's all I was getting at.
belongings.
Okay. And at any point, did you tell me that I had emergency use of the car? Did you tell Carol that, or Keith and myself?
I never told you that. No, I told you there was no car insurance on the car, not to drive it.
I
That
never
you had a
discussed
key
the
to
car
it.
with you.
I said you could not drive it because there were no insurance. It's illegal to drive a car with no insurance. If you're in an accident, you could hurt someone, whatever. I would have to pay for it. There was no insurance while I
You
was in
said that I
jail.
discussed buying the car with me. Are you sure that was not Keith Duncan you discussed that with?
I said I got a letter that referenced you and him and Maggie and Carol, and about what everyone was going to do to dispose
My question,
of
let me be a little
our
more
belongings.
direct. Did I ever ask about purchasing a car from you?
You speaking directly to me about buying a car, my car, no.
I've never asked you about the car. I've never driven your car until I voluntarily left after I found out you were squatting in a place, and I didn't agree to that. I didn't agree to those terms. Is it true that you asked me not to speak to the neighbors?
I asked you not to speak to the neighbors. I
Why?
asked you that because the man across the street that you spoke to, Mr. Doug, you called him, hated me
Great man.
because of my dog.
That-
You asked me a
respect.
question, I'm answering it. Judge,
ahead.
if he wants me to answer, he can't talk over me. I'm trying to answer.
Yes, ma'am.
I told him Mr. Doug was a problem for Miss Garcia's mother. The police told me they were called out hundreds of times because he is a crazy old man who harassed her mother. And I told him his dog was attacked by 2 pit bulls, and he harassed me and about my dog when his dog was never on a leash. So I told you to stay away from him because he was a troublemaker. And I certainly did not need any more trouble with the surrounding neighbors trying to cause you trouble when you're trying to stay in the house and watch my
All right.
belongings, my dog,
All right.
and my car.
Got it. Any other questions for Ms. Doobie before she has an opportunity to cross-examine you?
Yeah, about her dog. Ms. Doobie, what arrangements did you make with the dog in terms of the dog food and also how the dog was supposed to use the bathroom? Is it true that you wanted to chain the dog up in the middle of summer for the dog to be able to use the bathroom, which is illegal?
He told me he was walking my dog,
I did.
running my dog from,
How
he
did-
just said, no, he told me
Ms.
he was gonna
Doobie,
run
Ms.
my dog,
Ms. Doobie,
and that's
you
what he
need-
did.
Ms.
I didn't
Doobie,
tell him to
just
chain up
answer
my
the
dog.
question. Just answer the question. He just asked
No,
you
I did
yes or
not
no.
tell him to chain up my dog. No.
If I'm able to get even a day, she is recorded saying to Carol Sims to chain up the dog in the backyard for the dog to use the bathroom. If I didn't know I had this meeting, if I am granted 24 hours, I can get those testimonies. But that's all I'm saying. The treatment, she did not make arrangements for the dog nor her car. I have no further questions. I know I'm on cross-examination. I don't know how this works. I don't watch
That's
CSI.
fine. No, that's the appropriate statement to make. If you have no further questions for this individual, we have no further questions for them. Now, Ms. Doobie, I'm going to give you an opportunity to cross-examine Mr. Calfee. Ask him one question at a time so he can answer. All right. So, please.
Mr. Calfee, or Johnny, this is how we know each other. Johnny, I saw you at Publix. Isn't it true? I saw you at Publix when you were shopping with the people you live with in this, the lady who takes care of homeless people. You moved into some kind of, because my private detective found you over there. You were at Publix and you said, oh, there's Kathy Doobie. And I saw you and I videotaped you and I told you we had a hearing on the 13th at 6 o'clock. And I told you I was going to seek justice. You just lied to this judge. I got it on video. You lied and said you
Ms.
knew
Doobie,
about
hold on.
What is
Ms.
your question?
Doobie, Ms. Doobie,
yes
wait.
or no. Did you see me at Publix? Yes or no? And I tell you, we had a criminal warrant hearing on the 13th of
Ms.
March.
Ms. Doobie, that's fine. But you don't have to be.
Yes or no?
You can answer
Now
yes.
I'm moving to
I've
discredit the
called-
witness.
Can you let me speak, please? I called the court several times. I have those phone records and I'm sure they have it listed. I checked for my name. They said I had no court hearings. So I have those phone records if I need to submit. I thought you were full of shit.
Okay, we don't have to do all that unless we're talking
Okay.
about some type of
Did
testimony.
you receive a notice in the mail
I did not.
to
Miss,
1087?
let's move on because we already have Mr. Calfee here. So let's talk about the relevant facts of what you're alleging, which is that he damaged $500 or less of your property. That's why we're here.
Yes, it
It's
is.
my time.
Yes.
Ask him questions regarding that.
Okay. So, Mr. Kelfie, you took my vehicle and you drove it and you told me in the recording that the judge has a copy of, you told me, I told you I audio taped you. I told you I taped you that day. You told me you drove my car, that you slept in the back of it. You broke my gas cap. There's a key. It opens with a key. All my belongings inside the car. Did you dispose of them? Because they were missing. All my sunglasses, everything in the trunk, everything in the car was missing. Did you dispose of all of my things in my car? Yes or no?
I have photos of the state that the car was in. I just texted the court to resend the email address so I can resend those pictures. But no, I took the car as is off the property because it was at risk of being towed. And I wanted you to have something for yourself when you got out of prison.
Did I say to you, yes or no, that you cannot unrob a bank and you no more than you can unsteal a car? Did I say that to you?
You gave me permission under emergency circumstances in front of Carol Sims and Keith Duncan and myself in emergency situations that I can move the car. I never discussed buying a car with you. It was only under emergency situations that I had permission to move the car. And it wasn't just you and I. So there's, I don't know, yes or no with that, but
Well,
you're framing it in a certain way.
I spoke to Carol and she said she wanted nothing to do with this because you were going to lie and you were not prepared for this, Judge. And now you're saying,
So
Judge,
ask more questions, not testify.
Okay. You say that you tried to save my property by moving it. I wanted the car to stay there, and I was very clear with you that I established residency and I was told she could not evict me. And I told you that I know eviction law, that I've been illegally evicted before, and I know the law. And you were hired to watch over my belongings in the house, watch over my dog. Carol was providing you with food. I told you where to go to free99fridge.com to get free food.
There without the car.
Listen, I'm going to give you 2 more minutes because you seem to go on more rants than folks answer questions. You don't seem to be able to understand where I'm giving you some leeway because I know you're not an attorney, but you seem to constantly just don't apologize to me.
Okay.
I don't need to hear your apology. What I need to do is ask questions and then be through with your questions. So
Johnny,
ask questions.
2 weeks ago, actually 3 weeks ago, I saw you at Publix and
You've already asked and answered that. Ask another question that's relevant to the items.
Okay. Once you knew you had a court date, why didn't you produce this information? Why didn't you send any witnesses, any records, any pictures, anything you had?
Ms. W, if you do not ask a question about the $500 or less of property, I'm not going to let you ask any more questions.
Did you tell me that Maggie had you sign a document to allow her to take all my things out of the house and for you to leave the house? Did you tell me you signed an official document saying you were the one vacating the house at your own free will that she gave to you? Yes and no. Did you tell me that?
I vacated the house on my own free will after I found out what you had been doing and it was wrong. And I needed to leave the situation even though I had nowhere to go because it was the right thing to do. So yes, I signed a document saying I willfully left. She didn't force me out. She actually said I could stay if I needed more time. I said, no, I'm going to make it right. So I left on my own free will.
Okay, since you just said to the judge, in front of the judge, that you made this decision, you judged me as a squatter in that house when I had established residency. Isn't it true? You judged me, Johnny. Isn't it true that you took it into your own hands? You said, Maggie said you could stay because you told me that. Didn't you tell me that Maggie had said you could stay longer? Yes and no. Because you were watching over my property, my dog. She never forced you out. No, you chose as my, did you choose as my pet sitter, house sitter to take matters into your own hands and vacate the property so that I would be defrauded of all my worldly goods, lose my dog?
Allow me to object, but it's not questioning. It's not questioning what's happening.
And so, Ms. W, I'm going to
argumentative rants.
No, it's he admitted that he left the home.
So let's do this. It's 9/11, right? It's past 9 o'clock.
I know, and I did not have.
Well, no. Listen, let me talk now. You've been talking the most, and that's okay. You're the applicant, but you've been talking. Let me talk now. It's 9/11. I'm going to hear closing remarks. I've heard enough. I don't really need to hear much more, but I'm going to give folks an opportunity to give closing remarks, and then I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. But I'm going to give folks an opportunity to give closing remarks. I will start with you, Ms. Doobie, and then I will give you 2 minutes, or I'll give you till 9:15. All right. And then I'm going to stop you. Be cognizant of your time. And then I'll allow Counsel Kelly and then Mr. Calfee give their closing remarks. Go ahead, Ms. Doobie.
The focus should not be the civil matter that I was illegally evicted. The focus should be the fact that the police would not help me and instructed me to seek criminal warrants, and the judge who heard me and all my evidence with plenty of time, without all this rigmarole. The bottom line is I was told to do this. No matter what my past is, I do not deserve to have my dog stolen, my car stolen, $1,200 of damage to be done to it, to be put out in the elements for 3 days without being able to find my vehicle. The police had to locate it through their software to track him down. And then I called Mr. Duncan and told him, left a message and said, the police have seen you in my vehicle. Return my car to me. I already stated that Maggie Garcia knew, and that Mr. Duncan and her and Mr. Calfee, they sent me this letter to try to mess with me when I was in jail. They think because I went away to jail that I deserve them to commit crimes against me. Justice means what is due you. My faith in Jesus is woe to you lawyers who put burdens on your clients that you wouldn't put on your little finger. Justice is something we seek from the courts, no matter what has happened in our past. And I don't have to justify. I was innocent in my past, but I don't have to justify myself. But these people would come to you with a lawyer to represent them, silence themselves, lie to you and say they never knew about it in advance, avoid service of process, not give me any recourse, and think that they could walk away without remunerating me or giving me any damages for what they've done, in addition to having to answer and be accountable to the laws of DeKalb County. Now, yes, I can sue, and I am suing Ms. Garcia, and I am suing Mr. Calfee in Fulton County in a civil case. I have hired a private eye. I will have them served. I will have them located and served. I have the correct addresses, but I came before this court today. I know that it has to do with you gave justice to the first two parties. You did what was right, even though people were sorry, even though they didn't mean to put their hands on somebody by illegal touching. I defended my life in a state that has no laws for stand your ground. This woman went to prison for human trafficking. She labor trafficked me. So I explained these things to Miss Garcia. I tried to communicate with her by phone. I just wanted my belongings back. I didn't want them thrown in the trash. I found some of them in the trash. I've done the best I can. And if I do not receive a criminal warrant today, I will leave it in God's hands, since I believe Jesus is coming soon, and those of us who are righteous are going to go up. So whatever you do to the least of them, the poor, the homeless, the hungry, the thirsty, the homeless, those in jail, those in prison. The system does not always work, Your Honor. As you well know, we can seek justice when we are victimized. People can lie under oath. They can defame you, throw your criminal past in your face. But the fact of the matter was, I was a resident, not a squatter, a resident, hired with an oral agreement because she didn't want to sign something. And she even said in that audio you listened to as evidence that when I finished this job, she was going to move me to her grandmother's house to start another job. And that was done after I'd been there for 60 days. And she was pleased with my work. And I'm done.
All right.
There you have it.
Thank you. Counsel Kelly.
Thank you. Your Honor, the idea that Ms. Doobie on March 10th, when she moved into Ms. Garcia's house, had $10,000 worth of clothing, $2,000 worth of appliances, $1,000 in cosmetics, and the other items that she's now claiming were lost or damaged. It borders on absurdity. And the fact that these valuable things that she claims were damaged or disposed of, that she didn't take the time in those 3 days to provide for them, it should cause red flags to the court about whether those items existed. In her closing statement, she referred to the car and the dog. She didn't talk about this $10,000 worth of clothing, the appliance. What appliance? She hasn't even said what type of appliance. Are we talking a microwave, a refrigerator? She hasn't
Fryer, microwave, yes.
She had an opportunity, like you said, it's 9:18, and not one time has she talked about what these items were. The police came out, they responded, and they didn't give much credence to her story at that time either. But the issue is whether Ms. Garcia intentionally disposed of her property. What was described, Your Honor, was a house where even Ms. Doobie said the mother was a hoarder. It was stuff piled high in every room. So even if there were items that were disposed of when Ms. Doobie was in jail, who was to know that those items belonged to Ms. Doobie versus Ms. Garcia simply cleaning out the house, the job that Ms. Doobie didn't finish? There was nothing to demarcate, oh, these are Ms. Doobie's things versus what was left in the house when Ms. Garcia's mother's died. And it's intentionally. That's what criminal trespass to property or damage to property is, someone who intentionally disposes. So my first position is, one, no one disposed of her property. And two, if her property was included in any property that was disposed of, it wasn't intentionally, it's because the house was a mess. So that would be our position, Your Honor. And she's trying to circumvent the civil suit by coming to court. She's only seeking, well, the damage that the warrant is for $500 or less, but she's claiming to this court that she has over $18,000 worth of items that were illegally disposed of. I'd leave it to the court to question her credibility, given her prior felony conviction, given the court's sentencing order, which was introduced into evidence that also required her to have a psychological evaluation. I just ask the court to take all those things into account when assessing her credibility, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Calfee.
I didn't intentionally do harm or conspire against Kathy. I don't hate Kathy. I think she does a lot of stupid things. I don't hate her, and I never try to harm her, or I never tried to, whatever she's accusing me of doing. I don't know. That's all I got to say. I really don't even know what to say. I'm not well versed in these things, but I didn't try to do damage to anybody. I tried to do the right thing, and that's all I really got.
All right. All right. Well, the current court has heard everything, and there's just a couple things that I want to make note of. First and foremost, we do have some issues because there was no evidence specifically. We had evidence on value, but obviously, Ms. Doobie, if we take those values, then the court doesn't have authority or jurisdiction over this particular allegation, because that would be a felony amount. Anything over $500 is a felony. Obviously, much of your testimony is alleging that there is significant value in those things that were lost. That would take this out of being a misdemeanor and be a felony. But more importantly, the court is concerned because there is a pending civil matter. There isn't a clear indication whether or not this was a crime or whether or not this was a civil issue. You very well may be successful on that civil issue altogether, and you may be awarded damages. But as far as this is concerned, there are contracts and agreements. This isn't necessarily a direct crime because we have whether or not these issues are just arising out of oral agreements, which they all are. They're all arising out of oral agreements in people breaching, allegedly, oral agreements. That is a civil matter. That's not a criminal matter.
When someone,
don't talk over me. It can become a criminal matter. But as far as the evidence that we have heard this evening, I don't think it's been sufficiently proven that it has made that threshold. Furthermore, the evidence that you've alleged, Ms. Doobie alleges that this is really a felony amount that they're dealing with. And so what that's saying is that has no impact on your civil case. And what I'm saying is your civil case will proceed as however it proceeds. But as far as this evening, the court doesn't have jurisdiction over the matter because, for one, you're talking about theft of a vehicle that allegedly is more than $500 and items that are greater than $500. That alone takes this out of my hands. But in addition to, you've clearly got a civil case out there that alleges the same essential facts and allegations. And that's the reason why I'm not going to be awarding an arrest warrant this evening, because in truth, this matter isn't truly at this juncture a criminal matter. It is a contract matter. It is a matter for civil concern. And again, because even if it was to be a criminal matter, because of the amount in controversy or alleged is going to be greater than $500 for both of these folks, it's just out of my hands. And if that's the case, it would be on an officer or the actual solicitor to bring these charges against these folks, okay?
I need to ask you a question.
Understand, Ms. Doobie, the reason for the court's decision this evening.
I don't, because the judge told me that I could seek
But
this for the
Ms.
damages
Doobie,
that
so
were done to the car.
listen, I understand, and I want to make sure, and I want to do this quickly here for you. I understand you may get a lot of different statements from a lot of different folks in legal positions, but until you actually have a hearing or someone makes a decision, those are just recommendations. Those have no bearing on what will actually occur. That does not mean that they're guilty. Even if I issued an arrest warrant this evening, that does not mean that they're guilty. This is a probable cause hearing. This is to establish whether or not we have even the authority to deal with the matter. So if someone told you prior to this hearing, they don't have no authority. I have authority. I find that it's not sufficiently situated for being a criminal matter because the amount of controversy is for a felony, and this is truly addressing issues associated with civil issues or concerns and a complaint. That is going to be the court's order and reasoning, and you guys are just